feet in it.
Can't see it.
Yeah, swag though.
It's actually crazy. All right, so we got a lot of good SEC games next week. We're going to talk about the Alabama versus Tennessee game. Georgia goes to Austin. Which place out of these two places do you feel like is the hardest to play?
Don't play, Christine. It's Knoxville. It's Knoxville, all right? Even when all things are at their peak, it's absolutely Knoxville without a doubt. Come on now.
Okay, you agree?
For me, I'm good old Rocket Top. Rocket Top, Tennessee.
Oh, we can't sing that. Or we can probably sing that, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Listen, that place, I will never get that. Was it 2 years ago when they played Alabama and beat them? I will never get that moment out of my mind. That's something I will go to my grave with. That's how outstanding, that's how epic it was. And I'm pretty sure next week it's not going to disappoint as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the fact that some of these teams have taken L's recently. Alabama at Tennessee, both fell to the upset bug. Which team do you feel like you learned the most about in their loss?
For me, it was Alabama. They got out-coached in that matchup versus Vandy. They're very vanilla on defense, and Vandy was able to expose that defensively. They allowed 12 of 18 third downs. You look at the time of possessions. Vandy held the football 23 more minutes than Alabama. What it told me is that Alabama, yes, they had the major success, beating the #1 team at the time, the Georgia Bulldogs, but they don't know how to handle success just yet. Because you go the following week and lose to Vanderbilt in Vandy. So that's what I've learned about the Alabama Crimson Tide. This is a young football team. They don't know how to handle success just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, shoot, if there is a team that learned the most from one of those losses, it better damn be Alabama.
For real.
Because not only did you lose to Vanderbilt, hey man, like I know they tore the field goal post down and they threw them in the river and all that type of stuff like that. Usually you do that when you need to use them field goal posts to win the game. You so thoroughly beat Alabama, you didn't need to do that. So this Alabama team, look, I think they're going to be fine. They're really talented, but that is a concerning loss. So yeah, if they did not learn from that, you know, next week's going to be interesting, man. When Knoxville's a tough place to play.
Also look at that South Florida game where Alabama, like the score is not indicative of how close it was, but about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, that was a 21-16 game, but it was the turnovers of Alabama. It was the penalties. It was people taking their turns mess up. When I looked last week at that loss versus Vandy, well before every accident, a coach used to tell me there's always warning signs. The warning sign was South Florida. Also, the warning sign was against Georgia when they allowed them to come back into the ball game. But then the car crash came against Vandy. Turnovers, you can't have an interception return for a touchdown. Jalen Muro got sacked, fumbled the football. Vandy went down and scored a touchdown off that. So 13 points off of the turnover to Alabama. You cannot do that and think you're going to have national championship aspirations.
Okay, let's talk about Georgia a little bit because they're 1-4 against Texas all time. Obviously, we saw that L that they took against Alabama before Alabama went and lost to Vandy. Do you feel like this game makes or breaks the Bulldogs?
Christine, I'm not going to lie. I didn't hear a damn thing you just said.
This
it's loud up in here
right now.
Do you feel like this game makes or breaks the Bulldogs?
Kind of yes, in a way, which is weird to say because, like, if they were to lose to Texas, that's not like a bad loss because Texas has arguably been the best team and most consistent team that we've seen all season. However, your loss to Alabama was so bad, you got to show me something. If you are truly the team that we all think coming into the season, Georgia is at worst 1B maybe. If you don't show that to us this game, then what are you? You're what you've shown us, which is a team that barely beat Kentucky, a team that got ran through 3 quarters by Alabama. They might have won that game had there been 4 or 5 more minutes, but that's also not how football works. So they've really got to, I think, not even just win that football game. I think that they've got to show, like, hey, no, like, we have figured this thing out. Because it does look like that they don't really kind of know who they are right now.
It is a must-win for the Georgia Bulldogs. They cannot afford a second loss. I'm still trying to figure out for them offensively, what's their identity? Who is the go-to player in crunch time? I don't know who that's going to be right now for the Georgia Bulldogs. Hopefully in that matchup versus the University of Texas, they know who that is, and Mike Bobo, the offensive play caller, can start leaning towards that way. And I'm really waiting for ETN to really break out at the running back position. That's a transfer they got from the University of Florida. We need him, and I say we as in the Georgia Bulldogs, to be more dynamic in the pass game, but also rushing the football.
Can I just ask a quick question really fast about these SEC teams? If Texas loses to Georgia, then Georgia, I was asking our producer, then Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and Tennessee all have 1 loss. Who is the best team, not only in the SEC, but in college football? Would it still be Texas?
I think it depends on what happens is number one here today.
Yeah.
When you look at Oregon and Ohio State, also other things have to play out. There's so much football still to be played.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so far ahead. I can't even determine right now.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that speaks to, well, partially we still got another half of the season to go, but also how iffy some teams have been at times, but also all the upsets that we have seen. That's why, like, you keep hearing people talk about 2007 and the comparisons with that season and how many times we've seen top 10 teams lose to unranked teams. It was 9 in 2007 up to this point in the year. It's been 8. So I think because of all that uncertainty, it's really hard to tell. And honestly, I think part of it has to do with just, like, what type of play style you like. So